My wife had an affair and got her husband locked up. Then she got a shock when he sent her a gift box. It said that he was still paying her $2,000 a month in spousal support, and that he would continue to pay $11,000 a month for her mortgage and child support until her child turned 18. He also said that he would cover the costs of her child going to college. The judge said that the ruling would cost me over $6,000. I was paying $500 a month, even though my wife was having affairs with several lawyers in her firm. I felt like I was the one who was being screwed over. My name is Kurt D'Angelo, and this is my ex-wife. My wife is Lily, and our daughter Regina is everything to me. She wanted me to have custody, but the judge ruled otherwise. The trial felt unjust, especially with the high monthly support given to Lily based on her income. It seemed the judge was biased against me, but I wasn't about to take it lying down. I planned to make Lily regret crossing me. I have a knack for seizing opportunities, even if some were shady in the past. Now I'm into real estate and own various businesses, including a coin change company. My coin change business allows me to pay the $2. Lily was paid $0,000 in spousal support, which made it difficult for her. She was able to take the payments to the bank and count them with her lawyer friends. Lily stayed home with Regina until she started school and then became a paralegal. She quickly climbed the ladder and caught the eye of a rising lawyer who hired her as his assistant. Looking back, I wonder if she was trading favors even then. As her career progressed, she insisted on moving to a fancier neighborhood to flaunt our success, despite my preference for our current forest home. So we bought we bought a house for $0 and decorated it to her taste, but I never felt at ease there. Looking back, we had different life goals. I preferred a simpler lifestyle, while she wanted to show off our wealth. I intended to follow the judge's instructions, but Lily wouldn't be pleased. In the following month, I made arrangements for my daughter to get her child support, but Lily wouldn't see a cent. I went straight to Regina's account. She also had good health insurance, while Lily would get a high-deductible policy. After the 30 days passed, it was time for Lily's first spousal support payment. I had an armored truck delivered to her house. She was confused and stood with a friend as bags of change were unloaded. The neighbors watched as the change was emptied onto her floor. As the truck left, he yelled at me, but I just waved and shouted back, "Hope you enjoy your money from your lover." A man approached me on Tuesday asking if I was Kurt D'Angelo, but I stayed silent. He took a photo of me with the summons he had, and when I didn't take it, he dropped it saying, "You've been served," and left. After he left, I picked up the summons, realizing I had court next Wednesday, giving me a week to prepare. I spent the week getting ready for court. We also discussed the situation. Regina was upset with her mum, so I told her that I might end up in jail if the judge didn't agree on the court date. We waited with my lawyer when Lily and her lawyer arrived. They taunted me, but Regina tried to speak up and the judge scolded her for interrupting. The judge seemed to believe the accusations against me were in Lily's favor. My lawyer said, "Judge, we don't know about any accusations, and none have been brought up before. I'm talking about a report from a psychiatrist I got with that info. I'm sticking to my decision, so that's settled." 4 months ago, Regina was struggling with her divorce in school, so we had her talk to a psychiatrist. Lily must have seen something in those notes that she thought would help her win with the judge. I've never done anything inappropriate with my daughter. Lily was trying to make me look like a terrible person. I was really upset. I couldn't believe Lily would lie and accuse me of something I didn't do. The judge wouldn't even listen to my side. I glared at the judge. He'd regret this. It looked like Lily's law firm was calling the shots. We'll see how they do in the end. My need for revenge was starting to show. Lily's lawyer said, "We want the court to say Kurt D'Angelo did something wrong." My lawyer was getting as mad as I was. I think it's important to note that there wasn't any fairness in this situation, Your Honor. My client has followed the terms of the divorce agreement to a T. There's no reason to say that he did something wrong. Lily's lawyer said that he gave her the monthly payment, but it was all in change, mostly pennies and nickels. It damaged the floor and took a lot of time to clean up. I asked the judge if it caused a mess and damage, and Lily's lawyer spoke before I had a chance to. The judge had the chance to judge according to section of Title United States Code, which says that coins and bills are accepted as payment for all debts, including spousal support. My client has paid everything he's supposed to, including insurance, the mortgage and child support. Your Honor, Lily's lawyer chimed in. As of now, my client hasn't got any child support from Mr. D'Angelo, which is true. My lawyer said, but the child support money it's gone directly to his daughter for whatever she needs. You can confirm with her. The judge seemed confused. He looked at Regina, who nodded in agreement. We've got proof of payment for insurance and mortgage. My lawyer added. I glanced at Lily and her lawyer. They seemed panicked. Your Honor, he said, paying in change is tough for my client. Can we switch to checks in the future? Finally, the judge got a word in. That sounds fair, but before my lawyer jumped in again. Could you answer a few questions first? What would those be? He asked. Are the Chicago police part of the legal system here? The judge seemed puzzled. Yes, they are. Then why? My lawyer pressed. If my client's car is impounded, and he wants to get it back from the Chicago police impound, can't he pay with a check? He has to use cash or a credit card instead. The judge stumbled over his words. My lawyer kept going. If the police, who you admit are part of Chicago's legal system, won't accept a check, why should my client have to pay future spousal support with one? The judge looked foolish, so he got defensive, saying, I make the rules here. I'd had it by then, so I stood up and said, the law here just trying to please my wife's law firm. He asked, were you involved with her too? In contempt of court, you're sentenced to 6 months in Cook County Jail unless you apologize and agree to whatever I say. Who do you think you are, the king of this messed up court? I yelled, and the judge was stunned. He probably had never been talked to like that before. BFF, take him away. I glanced at Lily and her lawyer. They were shocked. Good luck getting your dirty money. I was taken to the holding cell, where I had to strip down. I was then moved to the jail, which is a nicer word for what it really is. It's more like a prison. 2 guards started hassling me about disrespecting the judge. I wasn't scared of being in jail. I'm 6 feet 4 inches and weigh around 255 lbs, mostly muscle. Keeping up with my rental properties kept me in shape. Plus, I had spent some time in juvenile detention when I was younger. I was then taken to the cellar. I tuned out all the noise and commotion. My plan was to keep to myself and watch my back as long as nobody bothered me. I'd blend in when they served dinner. That night I grabbed my tray and went through the line. I leaned against a wall eating while checking out the other guys. I was trying to act tough. Then over the noise I heard a voice I hadn't heard in years. It was Tex. He said a familiar voice from my delinquent days. Days my street buddies called me Tex. Tex said, Randall, also known as Ringer, what are you doing in here? He asked as he came closer. All eyes turned to us. I set my tray down and gave him a hug. My right hand was clasped with his, and my other arm was around his shoulders. Ringer, it's good to see you. How have you been? I asked. Not great, obviously. I'm in here, and you? I told him. I basically told the judge he was a jerk. He laughed. So how long are you in for? 6 months, unless I apologize to that guy. So, 6 months it is. We talked, ate, and got some stares from the other inmates. Ringer filled me in on what to expect. He promised to have my back and I promised the same. We reminisced about the old days after hearing all that. He asked what my plan was with my ex, her partners, and the judge. I told him that revenge was always my go-to. That's why they called me Tex. They called me Tex because of Texas. You know, like, don't mess with Texas. Anyone who did would pay for it. They'd think twice before messing with me again. They'd spread the word too. So what went down with the judge? He asked. I basically told him he was trash. How did he react? He asked. He took my daughter away, even though she wanted to live with me. Then, he basically accused me of hurting her. So, what's your plan? I've been preparing for this for weeks. Do you need any help? He offered. But I'm not sure yet. It's good to have a friend in this situation. I'll introduce you to some of my colleagues. It's important to have people you can trust to watch your back. Lying in bed, I thought about this. I've been thinking about how things had come to this. Looking back on my rough childhood with an abusive father and a passive mother, I realized the streets became my refuge. I joined a group of guys in similar situations, not a gang, just kids dealing with tough hands. Our actions didn't help Lansing's high crime rate, mostly petty crimes, but we did steal a car or two, which led me to juvenile detention. Looking back, it was a turning point. It was a turning point. I promised myself I'd change and plan for a better future. At 20, I bought a tax-foreclosed house, the first of many. I renovated it and rented it out at 22 at a club whose name I've forgotten. I met Lily. Her life was a contrast to mine. She was raised in Seymour, Indiana, small town known for John Cougar Mellencamp. Despite our differences, we clicked. We got married a year later. Later, I welcomed Regina, who was named after Lily's mother. I bought a house in Oak Forest with the intention of selling it on, but when she saw it, she fell in love with it and wanted to turn it into our home. Over the next decade, we worked on it together, raising our daughter and hosting barbecues, living the American dream. Then, Lily got a job at a law firm, and things changed. Her attitude changed too. She wanted an expensive lifestyle, with clothes, jewelry, and dining out. She also started making disrespectful remarks about South Side Chicagoans. I understand the South Side's reputation, but she was from a small town and acted superior to everyone else. We argued about her attitude, and soon after, she wanted us to move to the North Side 3 years ago. We did, hoping for better schools, but Regina faced snobby classmates. She wanted to go back home, and so did I, but Lily refused. The divorce started one night when she said she was going dancing. I tracked her phone and saw her dancing intimately with men from the club, kissing and groping in plain sight. Around 9:15, I had to use the bathroom while I was there. A guy came in just as he finished. Another guy walked in. "Joe, you were really getting close with Lily on the dance floor. I thought you were going to make a move right there." The first guy said, "Yeah, she's wild." Joe replied, "She knows how to talk." The second guy added, "For sure she told me she's going home with me tonight. Finally, we'll have more time for fun." Instead of just quickies in the office or my car, Joe said, "Quickies are okay, but they're nothing like the real thing." The second guy commented, "Tonight's going to be a long one." Joe bragged, "Maybe next weekend it'll be my turn." The second guy said as they left the restroom, as if that's all it was. When I stepped out, I saw her in one of the guy's arms. Kissing on the dance floor around, I got a text from her saying she'd had a few too many and didn't feel safe taking the L late at night. She said she'd stay at Paula's, another paralegal from her office. I replied that was okay, but she texted back that she'd regret it. I watched as she grabbed her purse and left the club arm in. I followed them, arm in arm with a young lawyer from her office. They were so wrapped up in each other that they didn't notice me. They got into his Lexus and kissed and touched each other for a while. I was getting angry, but then I calmed down and made my plans. I followed them to his place, but they went into the parking garage, so I headed for the mansion. I got there and told Regina we were leaving for good, and she should pack whatever she wanted because we weren't coming back. She was really happy but asked about her mom. "She's got other guys to take care of her now," I said, and she got it straight away. It took us about 3 hours, but we loaded everything into my truck. Luckily, our old place in Oak Forest was empty, so we had somewhere to go around 11. The next morning, Saturday, she called. She asked what was going on and where I was. I told her I was home. It didn't take her long to understand why. She asked if I knew why she and Regina had split up. I told her I didn't. She asked where Regina was. I told her she wasn't there. She asked where Regina was staying. I told her I didn't know. She asked if I knew about Regina's affair. I told her I didn't. She said, "Come on, Kurt. Just because you don't like living luxuriously doesn't mean you can leave. And take our daughter, no Lily, but having a cheating wife is a good reason to leave." "Expect divorce papers next week," she said, her voice betraying her shock. Then, in her usual way, she added, "You low-life Southsider, you have no idea what trouble you're in for. My firm will crush you." "Maybe," I said, "but I'll come out on top. You haven't seen the last of my anger for the next 6 months." She didn't try to patch things up. Regina revealed Lily's absence until late at night. "I'll be spending the night here, and I've got to say, she was pretty harsh about me." She was urging Regina to marry a rich guy for a life of luxury, but Regina stuck up for me, saying I should be allowed to return to Oak Forest. Now I'm in jail. Lily probably thinks she's won, but I'll make use of my time to plan my revenge. I wonder if she's considered how bills will be paid or her insurance and support. Then one Thursday something occurred that would impact many lives, even those I'd never meet: the guards. They took me to a video room without my lawyer. They told me to sit down for judgment. They shut the door, and moments later they let in 6 inmates. I knew trouble was brewing. I woke up in the infirmary, all injured. They wanted to show they were in charge, and this was their way. It looked like more morning from the sunlight coming in. I'd been out all night glaring at the nurse. I felt bitter about the system that took my kid, made me fund my ex's luxury, and tossed me in jail. I was tied down and my eyes were filled with hate. She assured me, "I'm here to help, not hurt. You're badly injured. I can aid your healing or you can stay in pain." I managed to keep a smile on my face. She understood my anger. She left briefly and returned with breakfast, freeing my hand as I ate. I decided to ask for a favor to see Randall Turner. She promised to check and set up a meeting with him. When he arrived, he said, "Oh, this is not good. I know you're not going to let this go." I told him about the 6 guys and 2 guards who attacked me. Then I said, "I need the full names of all 8, not just their nicknames." He said, "What's your plan?" An eye for an eye, but with a twist. I replied, "I'll try to get the names." He said, "What do you need me to do?" "I'll handle the rest." After some more discussion, he was taken back to his cell. I had a restless night, strapped to the bed and unable to get comfortable. The next day, the ringer returned with the list. Once again, he asked, "What's your plan?" "The less you know, the better," I replied. "Oh, crap," he muttered. The following day, Sunday, brought both good and bad surprises. Lily had come along with Regina. Lily spoke first, remarking, "So you're getting along with your fellow scum." "What? What do you want from me?" I snapped. "Regina insisted we visit you, ready to apologize and be reasonable. But she asked, 'No way. What's this nonsense about me and Regina?' You know I'd never do anything to her." "How do I know?" "She seems unusually attached to you." "How do I know that? You're 43. Why don't you go back to your lovers and let them screw you over? Maybe then you'll see how full of it you are." I shot back, "Just so you know, I offered myself to them and they loved it." She said, "Get out of here and send Regina in. I'm done talking to you." I said, "You're not getting under my skin." I was. But she was just adding fuel to the fire that would burn her in the end. When they brought Regina in, she burst into tears at the sight of me, all bandaged up. "Sweetheart, don't cry. It looks worse than it is." I reassured her. We chatted about. I asked her to do me a favor. She handed me the list she'd been given by Ringer and tucked it into her bra. She was to give it to Uncle Ken and ask him to come and see me as soon as possible. My brother Ken was 3 years younger than me. We both grew up with an abusive father, but I shielded him from it as much as I could. Ken was the brains of the family. He got into computer games and eventually. We kept chatting about computers until Lily came back and said, "Regina, it's time to leave." Gina didn't respond, she just gave me a hug and walked out. Lily said, "Your daughter is just as stubborn as you." I just smiled as she walked away. On Tuesday, Ken came to visit. He was surprised by how I looked. "You look better than you did last Friday," he said. "I'm glad I waited," I replied. Then he started talking to me. In our secret language, which we made up when we were kids to talk about Dad without them understanding, we use it whenever we need to talk privately. "Regina, I mean Gina," he said in our language. She gave me the list. "I've done some initial digging." "What are you looking for? Addresses of wives or steady girlfriends?" I replied. He looked at me and then said in English, "Oh crap," using our language. I said, "That's all you need. Then give it to Gummy and tell him to visit me, but without the list." Gummy was one of my colleagues. Ken knew he was still living in our parents' old house in Lansing. "I can handle that." "Anything else?" Ken asked. "No, that'll do, but don't be a stranger." I could use some familiar faces now and then. I said, "Aren't you getting out soon?" he inquired. "Not unless I apologize, and you know me better than that." I replied. "You've always been." He said I was stubborn, and I told him that it had saved me from my dad's drunken anger. I reminded him that he knew I was right, and he just grinned. He said he'd drop by in the next couple of weeks to see if I needed anything else. I said that would be great, and he replied that he'd let me know later in the week. I was back in my usual cell, and my ringer had spread the word that something was brewing and there'd be consequences. They just didn't know what the looks I got from the guards were like. The 6 inmates warned me to stay in line or else. They had no idea they'd soon be in trouble. Gummy visited and said Ken passed it to me. What's the plan? Did you hear what happened to me? I asked. Yeah, I did, he replied. Ken must have filled him in. It's payback time, but hit their loved ones. No traces. Use Dan or his cousins, I instructed. He understood and nodded. Coordinated on the same day and at the same time. Make sure they're... I told him don't mess with Texas. I added, I'll get some help. He assured me before leaving that he'd exact revenge soon, ensuring they couldn't trace it back, but they'd know why. A week passed with no word. I was waiting for my daughter's visit, dreading seeing Lily. Tuesday morning I noticed the guards were absent, which was unusual. It was a weekday, and one of the 6 inmates seemed distracted and upset. I figured it must have happened yesterday. I told Ringer to spread the word, don't mess with Texas. Inmates were calling me T within days. The 6 inmates were glaring at me and the guards watched closely, but Ringer's crew had my back. One of the 6 inmates approached and surrounded us. He said, You scum. My girl dumped me because of you. Or don't mess with Texas. I smiled and said, Sounds like sound advice. I warned you. Now your ladies know how it feels. An eye for an eye with a twist. You hurt me. I hurt the ones you love. Tell them next time it'll be their mums. His eyes widened and he hurried back to his friends. Soon after, the 2 guards approached me, cursing. Who the heck do you think you are? We'll make your stay here a nightmare. Well, then I guess your wives better get ready for a rough ride. They might even enjoy it, I replied, and one of the guards lunged to punch me. I didn't resist after enduring his blows for a couple of minutes. Another guard intervened and pulled him away. Many inmates witnessed the altercation, as did the cameras. I was taken back to the infirmary, where Beth, the nurse who treated me before, greeted me. She greeted me and said, So, you're the troublemaker. I explained that I hadn't thrown any punches. The guard had just attacked me. She said, Well, there will be an investigation. This time, there were too many witnesses. Heck is likely to lose his job over it. She assured me that one less jerk guard would be a positive outcome. I muttered, Those guards are here to keep. You're safe, whether you like it or not, Beth said. He sure didn't keep me safe last time. In fact, he let it happen. After she bandaged me up, Beth said I'd need to stay overnight for observation. I wondered if she just wanted to check out my battered face. The guard was suspended pending an investigation. The other guard gave me a stern look but hesitated to confront me. Maybe he got the message, don't mess with Texas. It had been 3 weeks since Gina visited, and I was worried. Finally, Ken stopped by and informed me that Lily was refusing to bring Gina for a visit, which infuriated me even more. My ex. My wife was keeping my daughter away from me at the end of the month. Lily showed up, almost leaving Gina in the car, but Gina refused to budge, no matter how much yelling and screaming Lily did. She stormed in, already mad, saying, Your daughter is impossible. She hardly talks to me. She's just as stubborn as you. You said the same thing. Last time, why don't you ask the judge to change his mind and give me custody of her? I'd be happy to take her off your hands. I said you're not getting her. She needs to go to a good school to succeed. Lily said Oak Forest is a good school and she liked it. I said it's nothing compared to Wilmette. She's getting a top-notch education and networking opportunities there. Lily shot back. Our daughter will find her own path. She doesn't need to rely on anyone else. I countered. You're just too stubborn to see the benefits. Lily accused. We've had this argument countless times. You won't change my mind and I won't change yours. She then asked, Why did you come here anyway? I replied, I came to bring Gina to you. She challenged me. My name is Regina, not Gina. That's not what she wants. Don't you want her to be independent? I replied. You mean stubborn, Lily corrected me. No, I mean independent. Able to think for herself, make her own choices, not swayed by wealth, power, or a big. I get a salary, but I can't cover all the bills with it. I explained that to her, but she said I should have thought about that before dragging her back to court. I said, You were being difficult, and she said, Well, you have to. I said, But you have to, and she said, No, I don't. What are they going to do, throw me in jail again? Oh, I'm already in jail. It wouldn't be a good idea for them to take me out just to throw me back in. I reasoned, What am I supposed to do about the bills? She whined. I looked at her and said, Get one of your lawyer buddies to foot the bills. I'm sure you're worth it." She stormed out of the room. Gina walked in and I was relieved to see her. "You really got her mad," she exclaimed. "She thinks I suppose I'll have to keep paying her spousal support while I'm stuck here. Good luck with that." I chuckled. "How are you holding up?" "Dad, don't worry about me. I'll be okay." "How about you, still avoiding talking to your mom?" "Yeah, just when I have to. I might be here until my 6 months are up." She said sadly, "My birthday's next month. I'd love for you to be out so we could celebrate, but I wouldn't want you to compromise your principles. We can have a big celebration when you're out." That really hit home for me. I started thinking maybe I was being too stubborn. Being in here was hurting my little girl. Then Gina dropped some wisdom on me. If a person doesn't have principles, he has nothing. As Abraham Lincoln said, "Important principles are meant to be inflexible." She quoted, "You hear that I asked my counselor Alex, sorry Dr. Hodges at school. It's been helpful having someone to talk to about all this. Some teachers noticed my grade slipping and got the counselor to chat with me. It's also helping me deal with Mom, even though I'm still not talking to her. I bet a fancy school like Wilmot would have a PhD as their counselor. Those rich kids couldn't just chat with any regular school counselor." I turned to Gina and said, "It looks like your mom's not too happy with you either." "Yeah, she's getting pretty annoyed with me." I just brush it off. It seems to make her even angrier, but I'm not bothered. Gina replied, "Well, in a couple more months, she'll have to find somewhere else to live. The bank won't wait forever for its jumbo loan payment. I reckon her mansion will be." I explained that it would probably be foreclosed on within 3 months, but Dad said that would mess up your credit if the house gets foreclosed. Gina asked, "Honey, when you usually pay with cash, you don't care about credit. That dumb mansion was the only thing I ever borrowed money for." I clarified, "Really? Wow, Dad. Even with all your rental properties and other businesses, you never took out a loan." Gina marveled, "Ed, cash from the others to buy new ones." I revealed, "Dad, I've always admired you, but now even more." She said, smiling, "Thanks, honey. You sure know how to lift my spirits." Not long after the other guard left, I'm not sure if he got transferred, but at least he was gone. A lot of inmates thanked me for getting rid of the bad guards. I think I gained some respect, and more people started calling me boss. After that, I had fewer problems. The 6 inmates were still angry with me. I heard that one of their wives filed for divorce and 3 others got dumped by their girlfriends. Maybe foolish people can learn. The threat of more revenge and my improved standing among the inmates, they knew better than to mess with me. A couple of weeks later, I received a summons to meet with the judge in the video room. I told the guard I wouldn't meet anyone without my lawyer, but he insisted the judge was waiting. I stood my ground and said I wanted my lawyer present. If needed, they could reschedule because my schedule was open. I was informed 3 days later that the meeting was scheduled for the following week. The meeting was scheduled for the following week. I asked for a half-hour session with my lawyer before the meeting to discuss things. They arranged it, and my lawyer and I met to plan my strategy. My lawyer said he hadn't received any details about the meeting, which seemed strange. We decided to proceed with caution when the judge appeared on the video. He seemed annoyed about the delay. I wasn't bothered. To me, he was just an arrogant judge. Who did he think he was anyway? My lawyer didn't waste any time and started speaking up. "Your Honor, could you clarify the purpose of this meeting? We didn't get any prior information, just instructions to attend." He didn't need to involve his lawyer. He won't apologize and is asking you to apologize to him instead. He's also asking for primary custody of his child. The judge seemed shocked. How could I ask for an apology? He wasn't going to comply. "I stand by my decision regarding the child, and I owe no apology," he said. "In that case, this meeting has been a waste of time. If my client changes his mind in the future, we'll seek another hearing." "Good day, sir," my lawyer concluded. "One last thing," the judge said. "I thought now we'll find out why we're here. Your client isn't meeting the divorce terms. When will he start paying spousal support on the mortgage?" I whispered to my lawyer again, sharing my response. My client doesn't plan to make. My lawyer told the judge that my client was making payments while he was in jail. The judge said that the house was going into foreclosure. He pointed out that it was my wife's mansion, not my home. I clarified, addressing the judge directly, You'll ruin your credit and lose your equity. He warned, I'm willing to take that hit to see my ex. Take her back to where she belongs, I retorted, knowing it would infuriate him. Maybe her lover can foot the bill. They can surely manage. I knew suggesting my wife was promiscuous and he was one of her lovers would anger him. You worthless scum from the South Side, who do you think you're talking to? He exploded before he could continue. I butted in. I'm talking to someone who's been involved with my wife. If I'm mistaken, I apologize, but I'm baffled why someone with no stake seems so concerned. I got up and headed towards the door to leave. I heard the judge say, your client just earned himself an extra 2 months in jail if he keeps disrespecting me. I'll make his life a living hell. I smiled as I waited for the guard to take me back to my cell. He looked stunned, clearly shocked by what I'd just done. Back in my cell, I felt buzzing with energy. It seemed my wife had mentioned the mortgage to her lovers, who then talked to the judge. It was clear their time was coming. The following Sunday, Lily couldn't resist visiting me in jail. Luckily, Gina found out and wanted to come along, so you managed to annoy the judge again and got 2 more months. When will you learn you can't beat the system? Lily scolded, why don't you just stop talking to me? Your North Side attitude isn't helping. I just need you to make sure Gina visits me regularly. I replied, she screamed, it's Regina. I turned away and refused to engage with her further. She kept complaining until she finally left, and then Gina entered, smiling. I asked her why she was so happy because I get to see my dad. She said, that can't be the only reason. I said, I do have a surprise for you, but I can't reveal it yet. Dad, do you trust me with my life? I replied, then will you sign this paper without reading it? She asked, holding up a folded piece of paper. I eyed her suspiciously. What's going on? You'll have to wait and see. You trust me, right? I grinned and signed the paper. Gina had it folded so only the spot for my name was visible. Mom said something about you getting 2 more months added to your jail time. Is that true? Yes, sorry about that. What happened? I had another disagreement with the judge. Well, whatever you did, he probably deserved it. We chatted more about school and her mom. She kept bringing up this Dr. Alex Hodges and wondering what was happening. I tried to pry the surprise she had planned. I'll be there, but she wants to keep it a secret. I'm bummed I won't be there for your suite, but I'll have a birthday present ready for you when you visit next. She asked, what is it? I said, that's a surprise. Looks like we both have surprises in store. I've got Greg handling all my business matters. Sure thing, Dad. It's the perfect gift for her. I'll make sure she gets it. Okay, I'll talk to our lawyer. He agreed to do that too. Tell him to drop by my brother Ken's place and give him what you've got. He'll know what to do if he's got any questions. Tell him to come see me if not. Tell him to get in touch with Gummy. Got it, he said before leaving. I couldn't help but smile knowing that Gummy would carry out my revenge plans while I stayed innocent in jail by the end. By the end of the month, I was well liked among the other inmates. I'd stood up to the judge, and the news spread like wildfire. Soon, everyone was calling me Tex. At the end of the month, I had a surprise visitor. Walking into the room, I spotted Lily sitting there. I almost turned to leave, but she stopped me. Kurt, please stay. I need to talk to you, she pleaded. I don't have anything to say to you, Lily. We're about to lose our house. Please, you have to give me some money to stop the foreclosure. Lily, that house is yours. I never wanted it, but you kept insisting until I gave in. It means nothing to me. With the market down, we've got no equity in it. Let the bank take it. I said firmly, you can't do that, Kurt. You have to help me. She insisted. Go ask I'm sure your friends have enough money, then you can be the person you truly are. Why are you doing this? I was expecting to see Lily begging for help again, but it was Gina. Gina, your mom didn't tell me she was bringing you. I said I wouldn't let her come alone. She replied, I'm sorry, I missed your birthday. I told her I'd got a present for her regardless. Dad, I knew you wouldn't be there, and it's okay. I still love you, and you don't have to give me anything. She assured me what an amazing daughter I have. I didn't have it with me, but I can tell you what it is, Gina. The Oak Forest home is yours. It's going into a trust for you until you're an adult. When I get out, can I stay there? Of course, I'll pay you rent. Then Gummy visited. Everything was set. Footage of my wife, other Pargal, and politicians doing illegal things. We had hidden cameras installed by cleaners who were paid well. I told him to post the videos online with a tagline saying, "Don't mess with Texas." News outlets and tabloids would go wild, and politicians and lawyers would scramble to cover up. I grinned and told him to spread the word about what's next. He agreed and left. Walking back to my cell, I grinned again. Ringer saw me and knew I'd talked to Gummy. He muttered, "Ooh." I just nodded, smiling wider when the videos were released. And I was in my bunk. I heard people talking about them in the jail. It seemed like the news had reached us, and people were saying, "Don't mess with Texas." Surprisingly, the big guy came to my cell. He apologized for what he did. I told him I'd warned him not to mess with me, and now others regretted it. I matched kindness with kindness and violence with violence. He hoped I'd accept his apology, but I told him size doesn't make you invincible. He nodded and left. 3 days later, I was called by the judge. My lawyer was on the way in the video room, waiting for the judge. My lawyer smirked. I wondered what this was about. Time will tell. I grinned. He muttered, "Uh-oh," when the judge appeared. The judge was furious, accusing me. He yelled, "You did this." I deadpanned. "What are you talking about? Your text, right?" He still yelled, "I've been called that." I replied calmly, You'll pay for this," he yelled again. "I've been locked up for 4 months, so how could I have done anything?" "You have friends," I stated. "We all have friends." "You won't get away with this," he retorted sarcastically. "You might lose your job soon, and your wife is divorcing you," I countered. "Call off your dogs," he demanded. "Now you're calling my friends dogs. They might not like that," I warned. "You might get bitten," I warned him. "Are you threatening me?" he questioned. "No, I just stated an old saying." I clarified. "I'll make your life difficult. I'll watch your back. When you get out, you'll answer to people who don't care about you. I'll be happy with whatever happens." He threatened, cutting off the conversation. I turned to my lawyer. He nodded, showing his phone. "It's evidence of intimidation." A few days later, my wife came by again. "Oh, it's you," I thought. I had nothing to say, so I just remarked, "You bastard." "What's wrong?" she asked. "You got me fired," I said. "My face is everywhere because of you. How could you?" "I didn't do it," she complained. "Do you hate me that much?" I countered. "Yeah, and all your lawyer buddies who think they're above everyone else." "You used," she replied. "You were a nice, small-town girl with a great personality. Now you're just a selfish city snob. What do I do now? I have no job and nobody wants to hire me. Maybe I should move back home with your folks and start over. I can't. The local paper is calling me the center of a Chicago scandal. My parents are retiring early and moving to Florida to avoid the gossip. Florida might suit them." "You're not welcome here," I said. "They don't want you either. They barely talk to me." She sighed. "Maybe it's your fault if both your parents and daughter don't want to be around you. I said you should move and start fresh. Just don't take Gina with you. I'll fight for custody once I'm out. With your reputation, they'll reconsider you as a moral example. You can't do that. She's all I have." She protested. "I don't care. You messed up your own life. We had a good life until you got involved. Maybe you could become a companion for one of your lawyer friends. You're almost 40, so you might still find a market." I teased her. She looked upset and dropped her head to the table as she cried. "Tough luck," I said. "Did you bring Gina?" she asked. "No," I replied. "It's Regina and she's with her doctor." She got angry and walked away. "If you want to talk, don't bother coming back unless you bring Regina," I said, walking away this time. I didn't feel smug. I felt sorry for her. She was shattered. The next day, I watched a news report about a fire that had broken out on the top floor of a downtown office building. The sprinklers had saved the lower floors. I couldn't help but smile. Ken visited me the following day and said the law firm was off. The site server was cracked, and they lost all their data again. I just smiled. A couple of weeks later, Gina came to see me, beaming. She must have convinced her mom to bring her. She looked happier than ever. "Gina," I greeted her. "You seem so happy. What's up? I finally finished your surprise. You'll never guess." "Well, from our last conversation, it sounds like it involves the Oak Forest house. Have you and your mom moved back there? I guess close." She replied cryptically, "I was confused. What do you mean Mum's getting kicked out of the Wilmot house and I'm moving to Oak Forest? She then revealed how this was. Going to work in practice. How's that possible? The court. I told her that she'd given your mum custody until you're an adult. I also reminded her that's the reason I got emancipated. She then announced that she'd got the house and a trust set up for me. I said that it was easy for me because I needed a safe place and that our old neighborhood is perfect, so you're legally an adult now. I then asked her if she'd considered the implications of that. She said that she had, but that she was still trying to wrap her head around it. When school got tough due to home issues, Dr. HJJ helped me out. Once you're out, we can go back home. I'm excited to return to high school in Oak Forest. I'm already caught up with old friends and they're eager for school to start. Mom mentioned you spending time with your counselor. I'd like to meet Alex. You're in luck, Alex. I'm here today to answer your questions. Gina replied. My concern spiked when I heard he was driving her around Chicago. I'll be right back, she said, heading for the door. I need to tread carefully. How can I let Alex know his boundaries with my daughter without upsetting her? When Gina returned, she wasn't alone. A stunning woman followed her, smiling at me. Freddie, she replied. Or Alexandria. Rico grew up in my neighborhood. We went to school together. Gina looked puzzled. Dad, how do you know Doctor? Hodgman is Freddie and I were neighbors. We didn't hang out much. I explained that you were a troublemaker back then and she teased you. It seems not much has changed. I flushed some things and never changed. That makes sense. She said, should I start calling you Tex? Why Tex? Gina asked. It was his nickname growing up. He wasn't one to let things slide. Your mum's. I think I've done him wrong and I bet he's behind the law firm mess. She speculated. I pleaded the fifth. I joked before we continue. I hope you don't mind me spending time with Regina. She asked. Is Gina? Regina corrected. Oops, my bad. She apologized when I first talked to Gina 9 months ago. She was upset. I noticed her. Her last name is D'Angelo, which isn't that common. When I saw her dad's name was Kurt, I thought of you, Tex. I was pretty sure I wasn't great back then. I admitted you must have turned things around to have a place in Wilmot. She observed that it's just a house, not a home. I clarified that our real he's in Oak Forest. Gina interjected, South Side, but better than where we grew up. Alex added, yeah, I wish we'd stayed there. Maybe things would be different. I reflected sadly that it was true. If Lily had been satisfied, we'd still be together after chatting. I thanked Freddie for helping Gina. No problem, she replied. She's like family. Freddie replied, I've grown attached. Thanks again. I appreciated Freddie's help with Gina. He really looked after her. She mentioned that Alex helped her decorate the house and buy new furniture and decor. When I asked about the money, Gina said that Uncle Ken was helping out and that she had her own savings. I just didn't want Freddie to pay for everything. Gina reassured me that she hadn't paid for anything. I hope it's not all girly stuff. I want to feel at home there. I mentioned that I didn't want to worry about it. Your man cave's untouched, she assured me, referring to the basement. That's my retreat from living with 2 females after they left. I pondered my daughter's maturity. She's legally an adult now. She's all grown up now. Soon she'll be leaving home and going to college. I hope to find someone who appreciates simple things. Lily came to visit on Monday. I was ready to leave when I saw her. Kurt, let's talk, she said. I sighed and turned back. What do you want to talk about? I asked. I asked what she meant. She told me she'd become emancipated, moved out, and I didn't know where she was. Lily explained, oh, I didn't know that. Did you encourage her to do it? Lily said she'd done it herself, with the help of her school counselor. I said she was back on the South Side. What about school? Lily asked, looking concerned. I told her that she's going back to Oak Forest in the autumn. I said that she'd always been teased at that school because she was from the projects. You took her from a school where she was happy and had good friends and put her in a situation that damaged her self-esteem. I think you've done more harm than good by moving her there. I was just trying to make sure she got a good education. She said kids learn from their parents' example more than in a classroom. We taught her life's lessons. What do you think your example is teaching her? I hope it shows her what not to do. Our job is to raise responsible adults. I hope we've done that despite our failures. In our marriage, I reflected that it wasn't all bad, but it ended up that way. I hope you find what you're looking for. I didn't have it. and I could see that she was really sad and regretting things. I left the table feeling sorry for her once more. Finally, the day came for my release. I was summoned to court, and Gina, Freddie, and Lily were there as I waited for the judge. I wondered what he'd say. He said I wasn't going to apologize. We rose as the judge entered. It wasn't the same one. Maybe the other lost his job after reviewing the facts. The judge addressed me, "Mr. D'Angelo, what do you have to say for yourself?" "I've served my initial 6 months plus an extra 2. I replied, "You could have apologized and been freed." He reminded me, "I didn't feel the other judge deserved my apology. I made an apology, so I completed the sentence." I said, "You're stubborn." The judge replied, "I prefer a strong will. It's helped me in business." I retorted, "Your divorce settlement stands and you'll need to pay restitution for the time not served." The judge concluded, and then my lawyer chimed in. He said, "Your Honor, my client is willing to pay what he owes. Our calculation comes to just under $20. Today he'll pay her the full $2,000. Lily stood up in protest. "What you owe me is more than that. You need to keep paying until Regina turns 18. The judge intervened sternly. "Miss, I'll handle all matters in my courtroom now. Counselor, explain your calculations. My client paid the initial spousal support and mortgage. He also paid for insurance and supported his daughter financially while he was in jail. He couldn't pay spousal support or the mortgage because he wasn't employed. Now that he can work, he can start earning again." My lawyer explained after reviewing the facts, and the judge said that just the spousal support would be, "Not to mention the mortgage, Your Honor." The court order stated that until the minor child becomes a legal adult, the child in question has been emancipated for the last 3 months, as documented. The house was foreclosed upon 3 months ago, so there couldn't be payments on a non-existent loan. The total owed is, he'll pay her. He'll pay her, and consider all ties severed. My lawyer clarified that the judge scrutinized the documents and our calculations. He couldn't dispute the facts presented, so I'll need to do further research on this. If what you've presented is accurate, then I'll accept this amount. He then addressed both Lily and me. "You share a child despite her legal status. She's still a teenager with needs, so you both need to be civil for her sake. Mr. D'Angelo, you should extend that civility to others involved in your divorce. Can I get an answer? Your word on that?" "Yes, Your Honor." I acknowledged Mrs. D'Angelo. The judge addressed the courtroom. "Yes, Your Honor." She replied, "Regina." He looked at Gina in the gallery. "It's Gina," she clarified. "Unless these figures prove false, I'll close this case. Mr. D'Angelo, you're free to go," the judge declared. "Thank you, Your Honor." My lawyer expressed gratitude as we left. Gina rushed over and hugged me tightly while Freddie stood nearby, smiling. I noticed Lily glaring at us. She then approached me, exclaiming, $20, that's it, that's unfair. Why did you choose your new partners over me? They can support you now." "You can't do this to me," she protested. "Lily, be civil for Gina's sake," I urged. "It's Regina," she snapped. "Okay, what am I supposed to do? I have nothing," she lamented. "You can find another job and I can help with housing." "I have a rental you can stay in for 6 months," I offered. "Move in with me," I suggested. "Back to the south side," she complained. "It's free. Lily can't argue with that." I reasoned, "Oh." She sighed in frustration, turning to Gina and Freddie. I asked, "Ready to go?" They both chimed, "Freddie, I owe you dinner." I remembered. "I think so too," she agreed. "Let's head to RPM Italian." I made a reservation after getting release confirmation. I need to erase the taste of jail food. I suggested, from the corner of my eye, I saw Lily's fury. RPM Italian was our spot for special occasions. I booked the table for 6, we've got about 30 minutes, so I thought we could take a drive. I just want to feel the freedom. I suggested, turning to Freddie. I reserved for 4. Can you check if your husband can join? She fell silent, her expression blank. Then Gina spoke up. Dad, she doesn't have a husband anymore. I never told you. I was confused. Freddie always wore wedding rings whenever we talked, and she still had them on. What was I missing? I'm sorry, Freddie. I didn't mean to upset you. I apologized. It's okay, you didn't know my husband died in a car accident on the Eisenhower about 5 years ago. A big rig forced him into the divider. They said he died instantly. Freddie said, "I'm really sorry. I had no idea. I assumed because you wore rings that you were married. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just can't bring myself to take them off yet. It feels like letting him go. I know a psychologist with a mental issue. I've heard it before." Freddie responded, "I'm sorry. Will you still join us so I can make it up to you?" I asked. She looked solemn but agreed. "I think that'll be okay." I realized I'd been too caught up in my own troubles and revenge to ask about her life. I felt awful. I resolved to change that. From now on, I'd be open to hearing her story and being a better friend. The dinner was fantastic. It was a relief to wear regular clothes and not constantly watch my back, but being free felt a bit. After 8 months, by the end of the meal, I felt more at ease. I asked Freddie Alexandria, "When are you ready? Would you let me take you out on a proper date? I'll wait however long it takes. Can we keep in touch until then?" "Dad, we're definitely keeping in touch. Sheck isn't getting rid of me that easily," Gina reassured me, "and I wouldn't want it any other way." Freddie replied to Gina, then she turned to me and explained that Mike and I never had kids because of my studies. The timing just wasn't right for him. Having Gina as a sort of daughter has been really therapeutic for me. I hope you're okay with that, given everything you've done for us. I wouldn't want it any other way. Gina mentioned leaving the restaurant. "I hope you like how our old house looks. Anything's better than where I've been for the past 8 months. I joked that I was surprised the shutters were painted and the bushes trimmed when I arrived. It looked great outside. Inside, it felt more like a home than ever. I could sense Freddie's influence, and I got a bit emotional. Kurt, Freddie called out, and I admitted that I felt like I was home. Kurt, Alex said, and I turned to her, puzzled. She removed her rings, smiled at me, and I smiled back. We hugged. 10 lawyers, 4 paralegals, 6 politicians, and a judge saw their careers and marriages destroyed because of the events surrounding my divorce and its aftermath, whether seen as stubborn or strong-willed. Sometimes show that sticking to your principles pays off. Gina gained a new mother as well as a younger brother and sister, both about 18 years her junior. They were twins named Frederick and Alexis, which I thought was fitting as they were named after the person who helped me start anew. As for Lily, she married a wealthy lawyer, perhaps finally achieving what I thought we had it all. A loving family, a nice home, a good neighborhood, a healthy child, and a successful business that alleviated financial concerns. But it seems she craves status above all else now. She's married to a rich lawyer and lives in a large house in Winnetka. But her husband is a disrespectful womanizer who uses her for appearances rather than genuine affection. I hope she's content, but I know I am.